being good at the job is such a barrier to entry now. Like, that's the barrier to entry. What's going to set you apart is who knows what you do, who is invested in your success, who wants to see you succeed.
Hey, Nicole, what do you get when a former corporate CEO and a do-gooding executive walk into a recording studio?
Well, Erin, nothing, because the two of us are usually on my couch or Zoom, because wine.
You get a podcast created for Gen X women who are bought into the corporate world, but fed up with the BS.
I know. It's how to thrive the 9 to 5 or 6 or 7.
It's career therapy. It's comedy. It's definitely full-on authenticity. Basically, we give you tangible strategies to rise in your career without compromising everything else.
Because work doesn't have to suck.
Hey guys, Erin here. Welcome back. We are at the Because Work Doesn't Have to Suck podcast, as you know, because we did an intro, which I realized I'm like introing on top of the intro. But this is Erin. Nicole is, as I always say, in her day job, doing real shit while I'm out interviewing some great guests for you to grow your career, grow your leadership. And this week we get to talk to Julie Brown, and she is a powerhouse speaker. She's an author, she's a podcast host, and she is a networking guru. Most importantly, she loves to swear. She loves to tell it like it is. She doesn't mince words, and she has some great advice about networking. Not just advice, but I think some tough love around the data in several places of like why it's critical and how you need to get off your butt ski and start doing it if you're not spending a lot of your time there, or at least some of your time there. We open with some, hard, cold stats on why networking is key to your success. And when we say success, it means your promotion, your paycheck, the perception of you. The delta is huge. She also gives you some small first steps you can take. Simple things, like it doesn't mean you have to get on a plane to San Diego and go to a big conference. Like simple steps you can take if you aren't doing enough networking today. And it's hard these days. We're busy and we're virtual, and I love just the simple things that you can do with existing meetings even you have today. She also, my favorite, she talks about the 2 top dopamine killing, it's not a good thing, questions you probably ask at networking events. I'm guilty. Like, they are the most common things, and it just goes, dopamine goes right through the floor, and gives you some alternative dopamine-inducing questions to ask instead. I loved this. Like, they're so simple, and you can just feel the difference. They'll just make you shine and stand out and connect more easily. It's like right out of the authenticity playbook. And she also talks about her biggest pet peeve in networking. Like, you cannot do this. And people that do this, and it's really annoying, and it does not create a connection. So without further ado, enjoy this sassy little conversation with Julie Brown. You're such a joy. You're so I don't want to say spunk. That like uncuts you. You're such a badass. And I'm so excited to talk about networking. But first, I want to start with, you worked in kind of a male-dominated corporate real estate construction business development type role. What was the biggest thing you learned from that? Is that where you started down this path of being sort of an expert on networking, or was there something else that really sparked from there? Tell us that story.
Yeah, so I spent 17 years in architecture, engineering, construction, commercial real estate, and development, which is a male-dominated industry, which is so funny that now I'm a speaker because that's like as male-dominated. Only 32% of speakers are women. So
Really? I didn't know that.
Yeah, 32%. That was the latest statistic, was 32%. I just sort of fell. I wasn't in love with architecture and construction. I moved to Boston. I needed to pay rent.
Yeah.
And I took a temp job, like as an assistant for the vice president of an engineering firm. And I just loved the people. It wasn't like, I wasn't like, oh, yay, great, engineering. I actually loved the people and started working my way through the industry like that. Like at that firm, I went from being his assistant to working in marketing, and then be a marketing proposal person. And then I got poached by another company, an architecture company. And I worked there and did their work. And then I got poached by another company and became a manager there. So by 2005, I was doing business development almost full time. And that's when I was like, oh, you can do this for, like, I had no idea you could do business development for a living and like build relationships and go after work and like this is gonna make it sound easier than it is, but, like, go golfing and go to the Red Sox games and go to the Bruins games and, like, go to dinner and, like, meet as many people as possible, and I was like, "That's what I wanna do." So from 2005 to 2016, that's what I did full time, was business development for lead generation for architecture and construction firms in Boston, and then by 2016, I was like, I was one of the best in the business. I decided I would start my own company. I would be a consultant. I would be a fractional business developer and help firms, smaller firms, couldn't afford full-time BD people. So I went out on my own. I had 5 non-competing clients, was doing all their business development and strategy and lead generation and lead management. And then, as we do in this industry, somebody was like, "Oh, you're really good at that. Would you talk about it?" And that's how my speaking career was born.
In one of the things you mentioned in your bio and stuff, you talk about the research on networking. And I don't think I've ever sort of dove into that. I mean, I think we all know, right? And sometimes I like roll my eyes, like, you gotta network, you gotta have sponsor, right? Like, it's part of my like sassy thing. Like, it's a playbook as old as time, right?
Yep.
What does the research show? Like, help people wake up that are listening to this and get, maybe up off their couch or out of their desk or out of their office.
Yeah. So there's a couple of different studies I could quote. Well, there is a study for the women listening. There is a study that shows that one of the single biggest limiting factors for women in business is lack of a network. We don't create networks the way that men create them. We don't create as big in networks. We don't mostly because of familial obligations. Women don't have as much time
Right.
to network. So if we know for women, we know that having that lack of a network is a limiting factor. We should figure out how to fit it into our schedule, how to make it work with the schedules that we have and the time that we have to do it. There is also a study Dr. Ron Burt out of the University of Chicago Booth School of Business is a genius when it comes to looking at networks and social connections and networking connections and how that ties back into relative performance. So if I was going to break down relative performance is basically 3 things. It's how much money we get paid, which is important. It's how much promotion we get over the course of our careers, and it's how much recognition we have in our industry. So those are the 3 main parts of relative performance. And he did a study and looked at whether or not people had small networks or open, broad, diverse networks. And the rate of relevant performance was crazy. The more open and diverse and bigger your network was, the higher the relative performance. What was crazy about this study was half of the predicted career success could be tied back to whether or not you had a network, like a large, diverse network. And you wonder why. Like, why would networking have such an impact on your relative performance, on your career success? And it's because, like, number 1, leads come from everywhere. You can't possibly be everywhere all the time. You have to have people who are invested in your success. Nobody does this alone. Like, I think the African proverb is, you want to go fast, go alone. You want to go far, go together. Like, it's true. So, like, if we can think about networking as a really important tool for our career success, if you think about all the people who do what you do, your competitors, like, nobody's a dummy. We're all good at the job. But being good at the job is such a barrier to entry now. Like, that's the barrier to entry. What's going to set you apart is who knows what you do, who is invested in your success, who wants to see you succeed.
I think this is so true. And when I think about if I were to go back to corporate, or as I coach people that are still in that setting, the thing that we often miss is that it takes purposeful action, right? And so what would you say to the person that, like me, I was 22 years in the same enterprise.
Yep.
Different positions, then ran one of their subsidiary companies. So, my network grew because of the different things I did, but inherently, it was fairly confined because it didn't move around a lot. I was a mother, so I wasn't like raising my hand to go to conferences I didn't have to go to. Like, what's step 1 for that person that's like, I don't have freaking time and I already have sort of limitations on my network?
The answer is twofold. The first answer is network in the company you work in.
Yeah.
That you are already there. You already have a built-in network. So how can you start building relationships, strengthening relationships in the company you work in? Harvard did a study a number of years ago, actually only a couple, not a number. A number makes it feel like it was 10. It was like 2 years ago. And that the study showed that the people who are the most productive, innovative, and engaged are those who create extremely broad, mutually beneficial, and uplifting relationships within the companies that they work in. So,
Yeah.
job number one, start networking within your company. Like, start having people in the company who see your value, who know where they can plug you in for skill gap coverage, for problem solving, and then think of you when there's new jobs or new promotions within the company. That's career success, but also think about like just don't we want to work with people we like? Like, don't we want to have relationships with the people we like? Studies show that 69% of people are unhappy with the level of social connections they have in the office. Well, that's our job. That's our job to create those social connections within the office. So that would be job number one.
How is that? Can I stay on that one first?
Sure.
Number two, I feel like that was a huge part of my success at my time at Aetna. But I also was there until the end of 19. So I was there in the mostly in-person world. I was in the headquarters home office. I did lunches. Had meetings with new executives just to, get to know them before shit hit the fan. Like, how has that changed with this more virtual world? Now, I network all the time because that's what we do. But like for that corporate person, what does that look like now in this world where it's back-to-back
Yep.
meetings, it's virtual, much more so than normal? What are some of the things that tips you have?
It boils down to intention because there's a huge difference between intention and action. So say you're fully remote. Say you're fully remote, and we are in this Zoom meeting after Zoom meeting after Zoom meeting after Zoom meeting. What you would have to do is be intentional in the time that you have with people to say, "Hey, we're going to open this meeting. We're going to get everything done in this meeting. I have a timer here. But first, what we're going to do is we're going to share something about what was the best thing that happened this week. What are you struggling with? What do you need help with? We're going to get everything done in this meeting, but we want to make sure we're taking care of the people in this meeting." And that's how you even if you just did that in every single meeting, people got to know each other more, started sharing each other more. Maybe it's a Monday morning meeting. Say you have a standing Monday morning meeting, and the first 2 minutes is, okay, 30 seconds. What was the best thing that happened to you this weekend? What was the best thing you did this weekend? What was the most fun thing you did this weekend? Maybe it's a Friday afternoon meeting. And you were like, what are you looking forward to doing most this weekend? Like, just having these tiny little moments of connection. Our offices are designed, our meetings are designed, our work is designed, especially our workspaces. They're designed for productivity over connection. So it's our job to filter back in the connection and still stay productive.
What I love about that too is you're basically saying networking isn't a one-to-one necessarily activity, which I think
Oh, no. Yeah.
I tend to think like, networking is a one-to-one combat, but you're saying you take those opportunities while everybody's gathered to slow the frick down, which I'm a big believer in, and create that. And not only will you create the connections, but you are now seen as the creator of the connections, which is also adds a lot of equity to who you are and et cetera. I love it.
Yep.
What else?
So the second thing I would say for people who are like, I don't have time to do this, is don't grow your network. Just use the one you already have. Everybody's already got a network. So if you made a list, if everybody listening just made a list of all of the people that they know, start with your colleagues, then go to your past colleagues, go to any industry connections you have, your friends, your family, your friends of family, your alumni groups, people you went to college with, people you know. Now ask yourself truthfully, what am I doing with these relationships? Am I even utilizing them? Am I even being strategic about them? Am I checking in with them? Am I a good part of their network? Fine, don't grow your network. Fine. Use the network you already have, though.
Yeah, I love it. One of the things that I did before, and I've suggested a few people, whether they're job hunting or maybe doing business development, it's so silly, but download your LinkedIn connections and comb through it. You'd be shocked how many people you forgot about or moved into, really interesting positions at a different company, even though you're still maybe at the company where you met them.
Exactly.
Now you mentioned
reason to reach out. So download your LinkedIn connection.
What do you
see that somebody has moved? Go,
Yeah.
oh my God, I just noticed you moved. How's the job going? How's it been? Blah, 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 blah.
Yeah. Want to connect. I love it.
Yeah.
One of the things you talk about, though, a couple things I want to dive into. You said, but there's a power in the in the strategy.
Yeah.
Yeah, and also this concept of mutually beneficial, which might be commingled or not.
Yeah.
Tell us more about like that.
So everybody thinks networking is sort of this like nebulous idea without any shape or form to it. And it's not true. Like people say, oh, I got a network. I was told I had to network. Like, and then they're like, they don't know what network means.
Mm.
Network means being really strategic about being in the right rooms, about, okay, what is the highest and best use of my time? We just said we don't have a lot of time. So why aren't we taking time to figure out what organizations we should be involved in? Who should we be connecting with? What who should we be asking for strategic introductions from? Like, that's the strategy behind it. I think when I was doing business development in the architecture and construction industry, I was so successful because I had a plan. I had a strategy. I knew these are the potential clients that I'm going to go after. This is how I get there. This is who is connected with them. This is what organizations they belong to. These are what conferences they belong to. This is what they have coming. Like I could backtrack 10 years worth of work with every client and know how to go after that work. That is all networking. That is all networking. But the strategy is what made me so good at it. And I think people just go into networking events without any goals, without understanding why they're even in that room. Like who is it? Priya Parker, who wrote the book, The Art of Gathering or Why We Gather. I'm sorry, I'm not remembering exactly what it's called. But if we went into every room, every networking event with why am I here? What do I want to get out of this? We'd be a lot more strategic with our time in that room. So I always say, don't go to a networking event without a goal. Like, oh, they told me to network, so I just picked an event. Well, why did you pick that event? Who's going to be there? How many people do you want to meet? What's your follow-up strategy? Because 80% of building and maintaining relationships is just following up. So it doesn't make any sense to go spend your time and your money and your energy at an event if you don't have a follow-up strategy. So that's what I mean about strategy is like networking is not, I'm going to go to an event and I hope I meet somebody. Networking is I'm going to figure out what is the best event for me to go to because I only have so much time and energy. I'm going to have a goal for that event. And then I'm going to have a good time at that event. Even if I just go in and meet two people and then leave, and then I have a strategy for follow-up from that event. Because even if you only went, say you went to one event a week, you met two new people every week. At the end of the year, you'd have 104 relationships to manage, new relationships to manage. That is a lot.
Yeah.
So pull back from it. Say, I'm going to go to an event every other week and I'm going to meet two new people. Well, there. Now you only have 52 relationships to manage. A network is not built overnight. It is built slow and steady and with intention.
What one of the things that I've noticed in the corporate world versus call it the entrepreneurial world is this concept of mutuality is not, I don't think, practiced as much in the corporate world. Meaning anytime I network with somebody, I will break out in hives if I feel like I'm getting all the value, right? Like I genuinely want to help them. I want it to be reciprocal. And I think that's just the culture. I think on the corporate side, I don't think it's that people are bad people. It's just, I think they think of networking as, and often a lot of times they'll think about it when they need a job, which it isn't about getting a job. It's about getting knowledge and business partnerships and et cetera. What advice would you have for somebody that says, well, I don't even know what mutual would be because like, what can I bring to somebody? I'm just like let's take the job searching thing, the most, common. Like I'm in a position, job got eliminated. I need to go out and meet with people. Like how in the hell could that actually be mutual? What, advice, questions, approach would you maybe give them?
Well, the answer is twofold. Actually, it's more than twofold, but there is the idea. I think the idea of quid pro quo, or you scratch my back, I scratch yours, or one hand washes the other, I think is a very antiquated old boys way of looking at networking, where we would just expect that you would need something at the same exact time that I need something. That's not the way the
Right.
world works.
Right.
The world works is when you are needy, I will help you, and then I have an IOU. I know the reciprocity reflex will kick in. I know that I can go to you when I need something. I think there's nothing wrong with an IOU system because it is very rare that I will need something at the same exact time that you need something.
Mm.
And also, I think that we get too caught up in is this is this even is this symbiotic? Like, are we both like doing for each other? And sometimes you have to understand that there are seasons in relationships where I need more help than I can give, and when I come into like good times, I am there for everybody else. But like, I think we have to understand that not everybody is in the same stage of need
Yeah.
or giving at the same time. So, I think we have to move away from that, but that does not mean that you are allowed to be taker. Like,
Right.
taking without the idea that you will reciprocate or taking without looking for ways to be a good part of somebody's network is not okay.
No.
And you'll get found out pretty easily, and then your network won't work for you. Like, it just won't.
Yeah.
It won't be there for you. Um, I think relationships are I mean, relationships are living. They are living, breathing things that they need to be worked on all the time. And your job is not to always be like, "Oh, what can I do for you? What can I do for you? What can I do for you?" Sometimes it's just being there that is the best part of the networking relationship.
Yeah, I love that. And people are sitting there and like, I don't even know what step zero. Step zero is just to be there for people so that when maybe you do have a need or when you are ready to get into gear too and go proactive to grow that network, it'll be a lot easier.
Hey there, it's Erin. I'm just popping in real quick to ask you a question. Is there any chance you know someone who is looking for a keynote speaker for their upcoming event? Look, I know that many event organizers, they struggle to find a speaker who provides both tangible value and business knowledge, but that also lights their audience on fire. And I truly believe there aren't many speakers like me out there who are both former corporate executives and professionally trained speakers. And there's definitely none that roll in with an orange suitcase they unpack with their audience. Trust me on that. I would love nothing more than to bring my message of using authenticity as your strategic career and business advantage to people spinning in your universe, especially if you'd be there. I promise my talks always create an immediate buzz, but not just right after, but for months and years after the event is over. You can learn more about my message, style, and reviews and share my speaking info by going to beauthenticinc.com/keynote-speaking. That's B, just the letter B, authenticinc.com/keynote-speaking. Or of course, we have it right in the show notes to make it easy for you too.
Let's talk about this shit works. So this is why I think, we're both very irreverent and sassy, and that's why I think we connected so quickly. I love, this is your book and also your podcast. First of all, why did you name it? I love it.
So I'm Irish from Boston. I grew up in construction. So I swear, like I swear a lot, and it's like I don't swear for effect. I swear because it's just that is my language.
Yeah,
that is how I converse. And I was working with a book writing coach. I knew I wanted to write this book, and I was working with a book writing coach, and she said, "We don't name the book until the book is done." She said, because if you name your book and title your book, you'll try to force the book into what you've named it instead of letting the book evolve and then naming it at the end. And we were probably like 3/4 of the way through writing the book together. I was writing it and she was editing it. And she came to one of my keynotes because I happen to be keynoting in her town. Came to one of my keynotes. And afterwards, she came up to me and she goes, "Well, I don't know what the title of the book is going to be, but shit's going to be in it." And I said, "What?" And she said, I don't think you even realize it, but like multiple times when you were talking, you were like, don't do that shit. Like, don't do that shit. This shit works. This shit works. I didn't like, don't do that shit. This shit works. Like, blah, blah, blah. Like, and she was like, I think you said shit 4 times, which I know is as professional speakers is like, well, you're not supposed to. But Gary Vaynerchuk can swear all he wants, and he's still getting $100,000 a keynote. So just a little note there. But so she was like, shit's your word. And so we knew that, and even then at that point, we didn't know what was the title was going to be. But then at some point, she was like, "It's this shit works." Like she's like, "I wrote it down multiple times when you were speaking because you said it. Like this shit works. I wouldn't steer you wrong." And then it was more the tagline of like, what is the subtitle of it?
Right. What is this?
Yeah, we wanted it to be sort of like the salty version of How to Win Friends and Influence People. So that's where the subtitle of Networking Your Way to More Friends, More Adventures, and More Success came.
I love it. And the podcast as well. I'm curious, I'm a podcaster too, but is there an episode? So you've done a bunch of episodes. Is there one in particular or like a story or a specific learning that you had as a host that stuck with you?
As a host. I don't think so. I mean, I kind of felt like every episode was a new baby. Like I loved every episode.
Yeah. I love that. What about introverted people? Let's talk about them.
Introverts are great. I don't know why societally we like to tell introverts that they should change. I mean, think about it. Think about all of the articles and all of the books on like all of them are like how to be less introverted, how to come out of your shell. This specifically for introverts. This specifically for introverts. There's not one specific thing for extroverts. It's like extroverts. Hey,
What is it?
Societally, we like to say that is the lesser personality type, and it's not. I think introverts are much better networkers than extroverts for a couple of different reasons. Number one, they're usually more well prepared for a networking event. This is where that preparation and strategy comes in.
Yep.
For going to networking events. They're usually more well prepared for networking events, and they actually are really good listeners, which is like one of the best things you can do as a networker is ask questions and shut up. And listen.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, use your superpower and know that even if you're just asking questions and listening, that the impression that you're giving on those people is probably much higher than the extrovert that's telling, the hilarious story.
You literally keep asking people questions. Tell me more about that. Tell me more about that. At the end of the day, like they're going to be like, that was the best conversation ever. And you never said a word. You just said, or you said, tell me more about that.
Yeah.
Because people love talking.
I think the only time
how much you learned about that person while they kept talking.
Kept yapping. I think that the only time I've been really, really good at that, because I am more extroverted, but was when we used to run, and my strategy was always like if there was a hill coming up, I'd ask like some question, to the stronger runner, and then they'd be like, a minute. I'm like, oh, tell me about the date last night, like just as we hit the incline.
So funny.
Tell me more.
You say that the day after the Boston Marathon. Like,
oh, yeah, right.
When this is going to come out in the future.
Yeah.
The Boston Marathon was yesterday.
Yeah. Yep. In honor of the Boston Marathon, that is a great strategy if you're a runner. Practice it there, just at the bottom of the hill. LinkedIn.
I love LinkedIn.
I slap our listeners around all the time. Can you please slap them around and tell them your biggest sort of like, what are the misnomers? And if like they're not using LinkedIn, like, can you slap them around a little bit?
Well, I think first you have to understand the statistic of 80% of business to business leads that come from social media come from LinkedIn. Sure. So this is where the people are who are running corporations and looking for their next, employees, looking for their next collaborators, looking for their next content deliverer. So 80% of business to business leads are on LinkedIn that come from social media. The second thing is, I think the worst thing is thinking of LinkedIn in its old version. So I'm old enough to remember when LinkedIn first came out, and it was literally where you just put your resume and you're like looking for work. It was literally like an online resume. And then it evolved into being a place where, yes, we would network, but people would network willy-nilly and just like, oh, the more connections you had, which is not the way to do it. it's really evolved into a place where you can create and build a personal brand. And for people who do not have time for networking in the sense of like going to events or having one-on-ones, to let your content network for you is amazing. I cannot tell you how many people I have an inbound lead thing on my website. People fill it out to ask me to come and speak. And there is a thing that says, "Where did you see Julie?" And I cannot tell you how many people have said, "I follow her on LinkedIn." That is just such a great vehicle for me to be known as the networking expert. And what's so amazing about that vehicle is I get to deliver and disseminate the content in the way that I want to disseminate it, in the language I want to disseminate it. I'm sure there's rules, but I haven't broken any of them yet. So and I'm not that, I will push rules. There's so much, you have so much like freedom there to like say this, I'm planting a stake. This is my expertise and this is how I talk about it.
I mean, one of the things I always say is LinkedIn is a 24/7, 365 conference. It's not a social media platform. It's not a, digital resume. And, what I like to say to people is like, you don't have to do it. But if you don't, you have to do something else.
Yeah.
Right? Whether you're in business development, that means you need to make more cold calls. If you're looking for a job, that means you probably have to apply to 150, jobs through the ATS system. If you're looking to build your business, that means you probably have to, whatever, send out a bazillion emails. So it's not, I would say to people, you don't have to be on LinkedIn, but God, it can be. And in that asynchronous nature too is nice for introverts where they might say, oh, well, I'm not used to putting myself out there, blah, blah, blah. It's like, well, but you can put stuff out there and it's asynchronous, meaning you don't have to have a live conversation and people can consume it and they can sort of make those decisions when you're talking.
But let's go back to what you just said. You can put your resume out there and you can apply to job boards. But if you get past the automatic AI screener of your resume and your resume actually gets in front of human eyeballs, guess where the first place they're going to look for you is?
Like they're going to go right back. Yeah, they're going to go right back. Well, and when we're sharing, these days, long gone are the days where like, can you help me find a job? And I'm emailing somebody's resume out. No.
Right.
I'm like, copy paste your LinkedIn links that people don't have to open up an attachment. They can go there. Yeah, it matters. And I think, it's just, if you think about it as a conference, do you want to be that person that either doesn't ever go to the conference or goes to the conference and sits in the corner and drinks water?
Yeah.
Or is your personality, a little more involved?
But let's just talk straight up statistics as far as finding a job.
Yes.
The average online position receives, on average, between 186 and 213 resumes that come in for that online position. So like online job, submission. So between 196 and 213 is like sort of like the sweet spot of where every job position gets. 75% of those resumes are never going to be seen by human eyeball. They are going to go through that resume sorting system, which is AI has got its algorithm and it's going to kick people out if you didn't say the right word, And so now we're 75% of those people. Then that 25% that gets through, only about 8% of people are going to be considered for an interview. These are shitty odds, okay? When you look strategically and statistically, say a company decides it has a new position or it has to fill a position, more than 60% of companies are going to go to their network first. They're going to ask their employees, and then those people are going to ask their connections. So that's how that job is going to be filled. So now I want to tell you that like most jobs aren't even going to make it to the job board. Okay. They are going to be filled by the people who said, hey, does anybody know anybody? We're looking for somebody for this project or for this position. So they're not even going to make it onto the job board. When a potential employee interviewer gets referred into a job, they will receive an interview between 35 and 50%. Like it swings depending on the industry, but between 35 and 50%. If you were referred by somebody within that existing company, you're 35 to 50% chance of getting an interview. Whereas if you go onto the job board, you are less than 8%. Like those are actually hard and fast statistics right now. So what do you think? You think networking is going to help you find your next job, your next position? Probably.
Yeah. No, it's so good just to give like the hard cold numbers. I know somebody, always have somebody going through the job search, but like, sometimes it's easier to get that probably instant boost of, adrenaline, oxytocin, whatever it is, by like hitting submit, knowing that you have a chance. But the reality is like you barely have a chance, right? And it's much better. And not to mention that none of that even addresses that you then can also hopefully get the better job and the better culture and the better environment by doing that because, that's
You're going to get paid more money.
and
You're going to get paid more money.
Yeah. So just do it. What I want to ask next, and now I just forgot what it was. Oh, what have you seen people do wrong?
Where?
Like in networking, like what's the most glaring? I mean, I know we talked about what to do right. So some of this is just the anti of that, but is there any like peeves of yours or watch out?
My biggest pet peeve, and I still can't believe to this day that this happens, is I will go. So say I go to I go a lot of times to go to luncheons where, there's a networking thing before the luncheon, and then you all sit down at tables, and then there's a speaker or there's a panel discussion. I still like going to those things. This is my biggest pet peeve. When I sit down at that table and I have not asked your name and you have not told me your name and you give your business card to everybody at that table. I do not give a shit what you do if I don't know who you are.
Yeah.
So the fact that you shoved your business card in my face, do you know what I do with it? I don't care.
Yeah.
You are pushy. You are pushy.
Like it's an indicative thing.
Like, oh, don't you want to know what I do? No, I don't give a shit what you do. Like, let's have a conversation. Ask my name.
Yeah. Don't take me to third base, buddy. Or gal, but probably buddy.
No, it's both.
It's both. It's both. Yeah.
Sorry. I think that is, and it might not be, this is a personal pet peeve of mine. That is a personal pet peeve of mine. I do not want your business card unless I ask for it.
Yeah, that's so good. One of the things you talk about is that a lot of times then you get to these events and people talk about bullshit, right? They talk about titles and work and you really encourage people to, avail who they are, which is right up my playbook of authenticity.
Yeah.
How do people do that? How do you get into a place where you're like more comfortable in like, talking about the things that are really going to be magnetic and rememberable and move that?
I'll never convince you to talk about things other than work unless I give you some hard and fast studies.
Give us the data.
And I
see the pattern. I see the pattern.
Can you I graduated with a pre-med degree in biology that I did nothing with. My brain still works very much. I am a data-driven, science-driven person. It just didn't work for me in that sense. Now it works 100% for me in this sense because I will always back everything up with data. And if I don't have the data, I will find it. But there are studies show that there are two questions. So first, I want to explain what dopamine is. Dopamine plays a huge part in networking. Dopamine is a neurotransmitter in the brain. Sits in the pleasure center of our brain, and it inspires us to repeat actions, to do things over and over again because they feel good and they make us happy. Which is why, all right, so quickest thing for dopamine is you go to a casino and you put in $1 or whatever, and that bell rings because you won. That's a dopamine spike. That's why you keep doing it. It's why you keep doing it because dopamine is spiking. Dopamine, you have an ability within your networking conversations, even never having met before, you have an ability to create a dopamine spike in the brain of the person you're talking to by asking very specific questions, dopamine-inducing questions. Now, the science studies and science together show that there are two questions that are scientifically proven to cause dopamine to crash in the brain of the person you're talking to. Those two questions are the questions you always ask at every networking event. The first question is, what do you do? Number one hated question. What do you do? Scientifically proven, number one hated question. Second question, almost as hated, how are you? And everybody is taught to ask, how are you? What do you do at networking events? And dopamine is it's skidding out the door. So dopamine inducing questions would be something like, what is the best thing that happened to you this week? What is the best thing that happened to you today? Are you reading any books? Do you listen to podcasts? What was the latest vacation you went on? Do you have any trips planned? What the kind of music do you listen to? Like literally questions you would think have nothing to do
Mm.
or have any place at like a business networking event. But here's the truth. People do business with and refer business to people they know, like, and trust. What's the easiest way to get to know, like, and trust? Find commonality.
Yep.
We find commonality. I can't even tell you how many times this happened to me where I go to events and I don't start off with asking, what do you do? Blah, blah, blah. I go, okay, I got a question. Best trip you've ever been on. And people are like, what? What? That's amazing. And I'm like, yeah, I don't care about what you do. I'm trying to plan the next trip, so, and this is what's crazy about this. The things people share with you about like, oh my God, I went here when I was like, blah, 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 and this happened, and I was on my honeymoon, and that wedding didn't work out. But like, you're so fun. You are immediately like, dopamine is doing this. Like, your brains are doing this. Like, you are connecting. You're increasing the surface area with which you can connect with people. Now, I am not saying that you should not be able to succinctly say the problems that you solve and how you work with potential clients. What I'm saying is you should bring that up when people care.
Yes.
And they don't
They actually care
care
about
if
you.
they're not if they don't have some sort of social or human connection with you.
I love that. I love that one. And I love the what is the best thing that happened to you today?
Mhm.
It just feels natural, right?
Yep.
It doesn't feel like you're completely jumping in
Yep.
in the middle of something, it's relevant. I love the science. It's so great. So 2 final questions. We always like to ask for a buck that story. Bucks that story may be a time when I know this is not hard for you, a time when you bucked the norm. You did something against the grain, unexpected, and good things happened.
I honestly think it was me starting my company. Like, I left my industry. I left the AEC industry at the top of my game. Like, one of the biggest producers in the industry, breadwinner for my family, like at the top of my game. Could have just ridden that for the next. I literally could have ridden that for the next 25 years.
Lots of nice vacations on that.
Yeah, and I wasn't fulfilled. I was like, yeah, there's a difference between making a ton of money and being fulfilled, and I wasn't fulfilled. And I'm so proud of myself for leaving that comfort, for saying, no, there's something more here. There's something I have more to give.
More to
Like,
give.
and I'm so excited that I did that. Like, now I absolutely love what I do in the stages I'm on and the people I meet. And then for somebody who like was doing networking and business development for so long, like the fact that now on even a weekly basis, I get to meet more people than I would ever have met if I hadn't started this company. Like, I spoke to 3,000 women last week. Like, I got to meet probably in person 500 of them. Like, how crazy is that for somebody who was like literally filled up by meeting other people and having conversations with people?
I love that. Yeah, we're really, it's funny. I did two recordings today. Got to meet with you, which I was super excited about, and then also met with Angela Gargano. I don't know if you've met her yet. She's part of our community as well. American Ninja Warrior, tore her ACL on the course, made a comeback. She's just such a light, such a joy. Has a great message. Yeah, and just like when what else could we have? When else could we have done this in this kind of scale? Playing it safe, and so it worked out when you walked the norm. I love that. Before I ask you the final question, where can people follow you, connect with you, network with you?
So easy. Julie Brown. So I'm Julie Brown Speaks. My website is Julie Brown Speaks. Or if you go to LinkedIn and type in Julie Brown Speaks on LinkedIn, that's where you can find me. Those are the 2 places. My website and LinkedIn are the best places to find me.
I love it. That's how you do it with a common name. Because I was formerly Erin Davis, and I was like, what would I have done if I were in, this world with Erin? But you just had a lot of mistakes.
Yeah.
All right. Very smart. And then people don't have to have a hard time spelling it like they do my new last name.
Yeah.
My quote unquote new last name. All right. Final question, softball. What's one last tip that you'd give our listeners to make work suck less?
To make work suck less. I mean, beyond doing something that doesn't suck. Listen, I think when I worked in corporate America, the best thing about working in corporate America was the friends I had in the office. Like, make friends in the office. Like,
Yeah.
you are spending a third of your life anywhere, anyways. Like, might as well spend it with friends.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's quote unquote networking, but it's just making friends, right?
Just having fun.
Having fun and making friends,
Yeah.
and maybe going out for lunch and having a few drinks on a Friday,
Yeah.
or something like that.
Yeah.
All right.
I'm not counting your drink. Listen, I'm never going to count your drink.
You're not a drink counter. That's why I like you. Don't be a drink counter. I love it. Well, thank you, Miss Julie Brown Speaks. Julie Brown, thank you for coming on, sharing your light and your wisdom. Congratulations again on such a big event and just all the success you've had in your first career and your second career. I'm so glad that we've met and we got to share it with our audience.
Me too. Thanks for having me.
Hey, it's Erin with a teeny request. If you have ever gotten any value from this podcast and you'd like us to stick around, plus you want it to continue to grow so we can kind of swindle bigger and more knowledgeable guests to join us and to keep providing you with tangible and inspiring actions you can take to achieve the career and life you deserve, could you please just take 1 minute to leave us a rating and a review? Those reviews go a long way in attracting guests to the show, and candidly, they really make Nicole and I's day. And we see you. We really do. So when you have the time and inspiration, we'd love to see a rating and review from you. Thank you.